the deep state machine has been unraveling. One way I described it is that they say wealth lasts 3 generations. Somebody works really, really hard. They roll up their sleeves. They become wealthy, and they drive themselves to the bone. And then their children inherit the company and have a general idea of how to maintain and run things because they watch their parents or their dad do it. Then the grandkid inherits the company, has no idea. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. And then eventually the company just is sold off, falls apart, and they lose their money. And I feel like the grandchildren of those who are inheriting the deep state have no idea how to maintain what was built by their grandparents. And so we end up seeing this case with Trump in Butler, PA, which, but for the grace of God, Donald Trump dodged a bullet. So, but you look at the story in of itself, and the guy snuck in, and they knew, did nothing. The guy flew a drone over Butler. They did nothing. The guy was carrying a rangefinder in a bag. They did nothing. They, for whatever reason, did not have Secret Service stationed on top of a roof with a line of sight directly to the president. Local police said 4 days before they gave advanced warning to the Secret Service to cover this. The day before the shooting, the FBI claims to have alerted the Secret Service of a plot to assassinate Donald Trump. They identified this guy 3 hours, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 10 minutes before the shot was fired, and they released Donald Trump from the holding area. When the shooter was identified on the roof, they did not remove Donald Trump from the stage. There is no way that's a lone wolf accident. You would have to be listen. I don't like conspiracy theories. I don't. You know why? Because they're so assumptive. These people are jumping from it's I always tell people when I see these crazy conspiracies, be it there's a military base under the Denver airport because the horse Lucifer. I'm like, you've taken a jigsaw piece, you've looked at a hole and you're mashing it with a hammer to make it fit. This crook story out of Butler, PA. If you say this was a lone wolf accident, you are taking a jigsaw piece that does not fit and bashing it with a hammer until it's mashed into this position. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fit. I'm sorry. There's no way 2 law enforcement agencies allowed this guy for several hours to bypass every single degree of security with a weapon and a rangefinder.
And to climb on a roof.
And when the local law enforcement body camera comes out and the cop's pulling himself up and he sees him and the guy points a gun at him, from that moment, they didn't say, get the president off the stage. You had, I think it was 30 seconds? It may have been 10 seconds, where a counter sniper sees him on the roof, sees that going on, and is it not their training to say, pull the president now? Right. No one did anything. But we don't even need to get to that point. Dan Bongino points out, having worked Secret Service, there's a holding area where they keep the president if there's an identified threat. They identified Brooks several hours in advance, an hour in advance, 20 some odd minutes, 10 minutes. And they said, "Not Trump, you're good to go." None of that fits. It makes no sense. Yeah. So it's look, I'm not saying I know what happened. I'm saying if you believe the lone wolf theory of a crazy guy who snuck in, you are the most extreme of conspiracy theorists making the wildest and most psychotic and schizophrenic assumptions to make that story.
Well, no, the bigger argument I hear generally is it was fake. That's what I generally get from the left, actually, is that it was a fake assassination attempt.
Absolutely, and that is a deranged conspiracy theory as well.
Right, I agree. I'm just saying that's the argument, is that I say, okay, well then, so no one died? Oh no, he died, but Trump killed him. Like, did a bullet pass by Trump's head? That's all I want to know, because Trump's really crazy if he's like, yeah, take shots near my head. I'm sorry, you got to be really and at that moment, he didn't need to. He had just destroyed Biden, by the way, a few days before. There was no need for him to do that.
And at this point, Biden had not yet dropped out. It was, I think, it was a couple days later, Biden, or a week later or so, was it? Mm-hmm. I'm getting my time messed up.
No, what happened actually was pretty clear, because I think a lot of us said they're going to kill this guy, right? We all were waiting for this, and it was miraculous. It was an amazing moment energetically for the country to see him survive. It was the version of JFK, because a lot of us who know, talk about the crazy conspiracy theory growing up. That was, the film I was in as a kid, and I knew a lot about as a kid growing up. The JFK assassination was devastating for your generation. Yeah. And it marked the baby boomers, him, MLK, Malcolm X, RFK, destroyed that generation psychologically in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, my family, we grew up as Democrat. We grew up, stayed around, southeastern New England, big fans of the Kennedy family, and we grew up as Democrats. I mean, I went through my actually, when I went into the White House as the national security advisor, I was a quote unquote registered Democrat, like I say, I don't give a shit about the politics as much as about the direction that the country's taken.
I mean, I'm still feeling pretty good. We can talk about, the deep state was going after all these individuals, going after you, but it does seem like they're losing. I mean, maybe.
Oh no, they're definitely on their, but so don't in
sleep
warfare.
on it.
In warfare, there's a phrase: the enemy always has a vote. Okay.
Wow.
And do not ever underestimate your enemy.
Well, no, of course.
So I totally agree with you. Like we were talking earlier. I was so elated when it was all announced on Tuesday night, and I'm thinking to myself, man, talk about dodging a bullet. A lot of people dodged a bullet.
There's a conspiracy.
You dodged a bullet. This organization dodged a bullet. The freedom to speak freely in this country dodged a bullet. The ability to do the things that we need to do dodged a bullet. Do not underestimate what these people are capable of doing, and they're not going to simply roll over. And so I don't give a shit if people believe me or not, Tim. I really don't. But I firmly believe what I am saying, and it doesn't come from something that I just got up this morning and read on the internet. It comes from a lifetime of experience studying, fighting, being persecuted, and living in an environment that my life has been examining the threats that come against the United States of America. As a young officer, yeah, it's on the battlefield and it's in its formations and military units. But as I got more senior, it's looking at these ideologies that compete against the United States of America. And it kind of goes back to what you had talked about, where you asked earlier. I'm not sure I answered the question, clearly, but it's kind of like, why do they want this? And I got into the whole geology thing. I mean, they want it because it's absolute power. I mean, when you think about the Bolshevik Revolution, when you think about guys like the rise of Adolf Hitler, when you think about Mao Zedong, I mean, China would not exist today were it not for the United States of America going in and beating the pants off of the imperialist Japanese and driving them from modern-day Burma all the way back to Japan, and then dropping 2 atom bombs, because the first one, the reason why we dropped the second one, because the first one didn't convince them enough.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War Podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.